It's that time of the evening. Good evening, wherever you may be. My name is Mountaineer Paul, and this is another edition of Mountaineer Paul Talks Football. Tonight's topic of discussion is one I think a lot of people can get excited about. It's obviously one of the most exciting topics, I think, of this offseason, talking about both Penn State and West Virginia. You start to look at the best players on each team, and obviously the two that jump out are the quarterbacks on either side. Both had their ups and downs last season. Certainly, you start with Penn State and Drew Allar. Had his best, possibly his best game of the season in the first game last year against West Virginia, and really looked like he was going to be a stud. And then Garrett Greene not having a good game. And really, the West Virginia offense as a whole struggling for the first four games, kind of gets its footing for taking over as the most dominant run offense per stats in college football. Now, today a ranking came out, and we'll get to it here really quick. Let's see. Let's get this thing rolling. Okay, so obviously Pro Football Focus puts out a lot of stuff. This is the top 10 returning quarterbacks in college football. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You see Garrett Greene, number 8. You see Drew Allar. And so side by side they are heading into next season. Thought that would be an interesting topic of discussion today. And we'll look at some of the stats. We'll look at some of the abilities each quarterback has, because they do things extremely different. Certainly, and we'll really kind of hash that thing out, get some comments on it, and wrap it up. Just trying to make some content, guys, for you every night, or at least best as I can every day. Do the best you can in the off season. So, let me get this sponsorship right here. Let me get Dutch Miller notified and do my due diligence to them first. This episode of Mountaineer Paul Talks Football is brought to you by Dutch Miller Automotive, where friends and family pricing means you get the best deal right up front on any new or pre-loved vehicle in stock every time. With brands like Chevrolet, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Kia, Hyundai, Ford, GMC, Buick, and Subaru, the Dutch Miller Automotive family is always growing, and they're ready to put you in the car or truck you've been searching for. Check out our inventory across West Virginia at DutchMillerAuto.com, or you can come in today at the friends and family pricing, only at a Dutch Miller Automotive store near you. Secondly, and I should have led the show with this, my heart goes out to I can't believe 12 kids have been shot today at the Kansas City Super Bowl parade. It's a place you're supposed to go and feel safe. Unfortunately, public events in this day and age are not safe. And I would love to see the stats on what public events, I mean, there's probably, you're looking like a 2-3% chance these days that something's going to pop off violent at a large public event these days, whether that be a fight, somebody gets shot, somebody gets hurt. It's really sad to see. And all the people that were hurt today, I hope they recover. Just a sad thing. So let's dive in a little bit. Garrett Greene versus Drew Allar, which is kind of like saying Penn State versus West Virginia, right? And it's really not going to be that much further from the truth pretty soon. If you ask me, apologies, guys. If you ask me, these guys are going to be the two guys that inevitably probably win or lose the game for either side, whichever team you're rooting for in this game. You start looking at some of the stats from last year. Let's start with Drew Allar. Let's see. Okay, so finished third in single season at Penn State in touchdown passes, 25. Fifth in touchdowns, responsible for 29 overall. Sixth in completions, seventh in attempts, ninth in completion percentage of 59.9, which is pretty low, and tied for ninth with 200-plus yard GAT passing games was 7. He had 25 touchdowns to 2 picks, which is really, really good. A QBR 73.7 as a sophomore. And 2,600 yards total. Pretty similar numbers to what Garrett Greene did on the passing side. You look at what he did against West Virginia. He looked like a world beater. 21 to 29, 325 yards for 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, 11.2 yards per throw. That's pretty damn good. Garrett Greene, on the other hand, was 16 to 27 for 162 yards, no touchdowns, but he did have 71 yards on the ground on 15 carries and a touchdown. So the first kind of little knock in this series between these two goes to Drew Allar. Excuse me. And he looked good in that game. The first toss of the game to Keandre Lambert Smith was similar to the Will Greer throw to Gary Jennings, not as difficult in the back of the end zone, but it was off one leg and across his body to the left hash. And I was like, holy crap, what a throw. He's got a ton of arm talent, guys. Certainly, if he puts it all together, has the chops to be an NFL quarterback. He's really got that kind of arm ability. But the completion percentage has to come up, and the receiving room has to get better for him, obviously. Now look and see what Garrett Greene did last year as a whole. 2,400 yards passing, 16 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, a QBR 17.5, pretty similar to Allar. You know, he had 147 rush attempts. Apologies. I was looking at the wrong spot there. It looks like I took a screenshot of the wrong screen here, didn't I? Apologies for that. Anyway, Garrett Greene had over 700 rushing yards last season, and 13 touchdowns, which is just a listen. Garrett Greene last year had a top 10 all-time season for rushing quarterbacks. Let me say that for you again. A top 10 all-time season for a rushing quarterback. It can't be understated the kind of year on the ground and impact on the ground he had. And we really didn't run him a ton. And really, they pick and chose their shots with him because we were so good on the interior with Zach and the guards that we could go up the pretty much. We ran split zone all day last year and dominated with it. Almost everybody, even Penn State, we ran split zone on because they used quick defensive tackles. Let's get to some comments here. I'm curious to know, how do you guys feel about this? Is Greene better? Is Allar better? Did P.F.F. get this right? Are they 7-8? How do you feel about the list? Jacob Yoho said Greene is better. What's up, Mike Stevenson? Pokemon Kid Entertainment likes Greene. Look at how his big ball goes in the air. That don't sound right, Pokemon. Tyler Cobb says B2B live nights from Paul. Let's go. Yep, it's back, baby. Mad Dog Sports, what's up, brother? He said, God bless in there. Family sad. There are people that would shoot children. Yeah, it's sad, dude. God bless the victims and their families. Hate to see that people would shoot kids. No doubt, man. It's it's one of those things that's out of your control, and you never know when it's going to pop off. Obviously, this country, it's a huge topic of conversation. I don't want to get too deep into it. Gun laws. Some people think it's gun laws. Some people think no. You just have to be careful what type of guns, or you got to be careful who you let have guns, and then you got the people on the entire opposite side that say everybody should get guns to defend themselves from the crazy people that have guns or the government. And so, at the end of the day, I choose to remove myself from those kind of conversations only because I don't play a factor in the decisions. I can only do what we're allowed to do, and in my case, as most of you guys know, being that I'm in recovery, there's a good chance that I probably have some kind of history associated with that, and so I can't own a gun anyway. So, um, and use these just like I always did. I'm good with that. Not ready to say he's better than Aller, but he has a place in today's NFL offenses. Wow. So you're talking about Garrett Greene, huh? I think Greene is overall better because of the dual threat ability, but Drew is a better passer. I agree, Tyler Cobb. I think he's a better passer too. Greene's more dangerous for sure. It's okay, brother. Things like that happen. Steve Keel says the difference is Greene played in the Big 12, not the Big 10. Big difference. Uh, I see where you're going for. I see what you're saying there, but um, yeah, I mean, there is a difference, but I wouldn't say big difference at all because I think the Big 12 overall is more competitive than the Big 10. You start to look at, okay, once you get outside of Penn State, Wisconsin, then where do you go from there? Because I mean, you've got like a Maryland who is very similar to what you would see in the Big 12. What about Rutgers? Similar to what you'd see in the Big 12. What about Illinois? Probably would have been the worst, one of the worst teams in the Big 12 last year. And Kansas went up there and whooped them. I think Iowa State may have played them. Somebody, I think it was Kansas. Um, so I think the Big Ten is a very top heavy conference. No, we don't have Ohio State or Michigan. We don't, and we never will. But with the addition of Utah, BYU came on strong pretty. I think they're going to come on strong this year as well. Um, Obviously, Cincinnati, Houston, UCF, but even Arizona. I just think we're really in a good spot, and I hope college football stays like this for a while. But to me, listen, if Utah and Arizona keep trending the way they were, they may not be able to replace Oklahoma and Texas as brands, and don't forget Colorado either. I really do think Shedeur Sanders is going to have a Heisman season. I've said that all season, but anyway, he's going to have a lot of the big numbers. I don't know how many games they're going to win. He's going to have huge numbers, but I think the Big 12 can continue to trickle upwards. And yes, I think people will probably still be looking to leave the conference, even if they strengthen their brands. But listen, one thing I know is Utah, especially, is a proven brand and the most consistent team in the new Big 12 as far as over the last 10 years. I mean, Utah has won a lot of games over the last 10 years. Now, Oklahoma and Texas are gone. You could make an argument for Oklahoma State too, but uh, it's good. I think the league is much more consistent and hard to win week in, week out than people give it credit for. Yes, he did Pokemon. I'll tell you what, as you guys know, I wasn't sold on Garrett Greene coming into last year. I wanted Nico Marchiol to get that job. I really did. I was open about that. Felt like I'd seen enough from Garrett as a passer, and he didn't stay healthy as a runner. Still something I have a lot of fear towards. But now it's geared towards we need him. I do think he's a difference maker for us now. I wasn't sure about that last year, guys, coming into Penn State. And Garrett still gets nicked up at times because he's wild at heart and doesn't know when to slide as often. He's way better at it now. I think he's only going to continue to get better at that. But I still have my concerns with Garrett as far as his injury history goes because he's never had a serious injury. He's had something for a game or two here. Even last year, he didn't play in every game, guys. Remember that. Remember that. He didn't play in every game last year. So is he going to play a full season for us? We're going to need him to if we're going to win as many games as we think. So at the end of the day, he has to improve as a passer, absolutely. But even if he could just do what we did last year, as long as we could run the ball and take deep shots, we're going to be extremely tough to guard. But if we're going to take the next step and beat everybody, he's going to have to be like Max Duggan was and be able to really throw it in that intermediate parts of the field. So back to the comments. David Frame said the Big Ten only has a few good teams. They do. That's very true. Do you think Garrett Greene could go to the pros? And when I say pros, I mean the WWE. Absolutely, dude. There's no doubt about it. Yeah, listen, Garrett Greene probably does have the charisma to go to the WWE. As far as the NFL, I could see him having some type of Julian Edelman type career where he gets somebody takes a shot on him as a return guy, and maybe he has now Edelman is like the blueprint. Um, you know, obviously he was a quarterback at Kansas State. Was it Kansas State? I believe it was Kansas State. Um, could be wrong about that, but and then turned into, I mean, he was putting up Hall of Fame numbers there for 5-6 years. I don't know if he'll be a Hall of Fame receiver, but I mean, he's got numbers that is really hard to contend with there for a couple seasons. That's what you take away from CJ. He's a great blocking running back. Channel member says anxious to see what the new coordinator has Allar looking like. Their back end may fit that scheme better. I'm sure we'll see both. Did you watched my show the other day, didn't you, Shannon? Obviously, this was the question I posed a couple days ago about Andy Kotelnicki and the impact on Penn State's offense, because I think you could make a case for Bo Perbrula as the quarterback over Drew Allar as far as scheme fit. Now, we saw it at Kansas. They made that thing work with two quarterbacks and well at that. Uh, I don't know how. I mean, it's kind of rare, but I do think Penn State has two guys that they trust, and it'll be interesting to see. There are some Penn State fans that think that they should open up the competition and see what happens between those guys. What's up, Simo? What do you think the opening line for the Penn State game will be? I know it's super early, but since we're comparing the two quarterbacks, let's have a go. I'll say Penn State opens up at 8.5. Uh, I would lean that. I'm gonna go 7.5 because I think West Virginia's at home. Maybe even 6.5. But if both teams are ranked, it just really depends. If West Virginia's unranked, it's more likely to be what you have there. If both teams are ranked, it can be closer to 5 or 6.5 Penn State's way. Absolutely, Tyler Cobb. He said, I'm worried about Garrett Greene's injury proneness, but he's confident in Nico's ability to step up. And so am I. And I'll be honest, I'm still holding out hope for Nico, obviously, to stick around. I mean, if he stick around this long, more than likely, if, let's say Garrett leaves, that's I think Nico still has a chance to have a great career at West Virginia. Um, he's obviously stuck it out this long. If he was going to transfer, it would have been this off season, in my opinion. Sorry, I dropped something. So I think we're in good shape at the quarterback room, and we got some young guys coming in that are really talented and going to compete with each other. So that'll be something that's interesting and fun too. Steve Kill says, how many games Aller did not play in two? Notre Dame have two. No, I'm not sure what that means. Two second half of games because of blowouts. Penn State not stat chasing. Well, I'll be honest with you, Stephen. I mean, Franklin's known to run it up. He did it in several games last year. He did it against West Virginia. It was 31-17, I believe it was. He scored that touchdown with, I think Perula may have been in, but really no need for it. You know. Now Aller may not have been in at the time, but James Franklin definitely don't have a chance, don't have a problem in snap chasing, and or not, or whatever you want to call it, run up the score. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing either. I'm just saying he don't have a problem doing it. You know, because in this day and age, style points do matter when it comes to the playoff and stuff. I think it's going to matter. Um, so yeah, so I mean Franklin will do that. Don't forget to hit the like button, guys. Forgot to mention that earlier. Um, Obviously, as we say all the time, feed the monster, man. We call the algorithm. It helps this video be pushed out. I'm trying to get more Penn State people to watch this show. Since we're going to be playing them, I'll be focusing a lot on their team heading into that matchup here in a few months. And I'm going to become intimately acquainted with their team to where I know every starter. And as a content creator, I'm going to have to expand out anyways. I enjoy researching Penn State and their team and like some of their players. I love Abdul Carter. I like Drew Allar. So I really want us to focus on them a little bit. And, not going to become a fan of theirs, but I am going to focus on their team. Because in the Big Ten, I have what I would consider in every conference teams I want to see do well. In the Big Ten, it's Penn State because uh, I hate Ohio State with every soul, every fiber of my being. And I wasn't even alive really when the Penn State West Virginia rivalry happened. So it's not really ingrained into me like it is some of the older fan base. Plus, there's just the Big Ten, uh, the Ohio State. I'm just so there's so much fatigue with them. In Michigan too. I just so done with it. All right, let's get back to a couple comments here. Maybe we'll find out who is better when they come to Morgantown. Feeling real good about that game. Appreciate that, Don Johnson. Pokemon Kid Entertainment says, I believe WU can blow Penn State out at home. Just have a feeling because everyone across the land that don't like WU, let's roll WU. That sounds pretty sound logic, Pokemon Kid Entertainment. Um, I get where you're coming from. I would be surprised if this was a blowout WVU's way. It could happen. I think we're talented enough. I just have questions about our defense. Our offense is going to be solid next year, guys. It's definitely going to take a step up. Um, I don't know how many notches, but it's got to step up a couple notches to beat the good teams. We were able to score pretty easily on average to what I consider just good teams, like 7 wins in that range. But when we play teams like Oklahoma, who would be considered, excuse me, really good, a good team, a very good team, like in that 8 to 10 win range. Um, that's where we kind of fell off and have since Brown has been here. Let's keep that real too. There's a few things we need to see him accomplish this year with this team. Because I still think this is a make or break year for Neil Brown. You look at that. Um, the pressure's on him to win 8.5 to 10, somewhere in that range. And he's got to get wins on the road against ranked teams. He still hasn't done that at West Virginia. There's a ton of stuff for Brown to still accomplish. And Garrett Greene he should be his catalyst for that. And if he's going to do it, it's going to be through Garrett Greene. Storm the field kind of game. Yeah, actually, I think so too, Kyler Cobb. He said it's going to be a storm the field type of game. Yeah, if West Virginia beats Penn State, it'll be obviously the signature victory of the last, probably since Clemson in the Orange Bowl. That would be we've had some big ones. The Oklahoma game doesn't hold as much water because they were really bad that year before last. Um, there's been a couple other games, but the Baylor game to the start of our Big 12 tenure was nice, but it was such a shootout, so that didn't really count. And they were obviously a great team. Ugh, got one of those gnats flying around. Um, so I think this would be the biggest win of Neil Brown's career, the biggest win of the last, 13, 12, 13 years for us. Be wild to see. Pokemon Kid believes in Coach Brown. Shannon Miller said we need to get this game. It won't break our season, but if we win, we're on the playoff talk week one. And that would make for a fun season for us. And not something we have gotten to experience a lot since some of us older fans. I'm a middle aged fan. I'll be 39 here in a couple of days. And obviously, my early 20s were the golden era of WVU football outside of the 88 team and those early 90s teams, which I was alive for, but too young to enjoy. So, the Pat White years, Rich Rod years, whatever you want to call it, those were basically my formative years as an adult. And some of the greatest years of my life, being a true blue, born and raised West Virginian. So, um, I would love to feel those feelings I took for granted back then. I would love to have them again, because I didn't ever think it was going to be any different. Conference realignment talk wasn't even in my head, dude. I thought we was always going to be in the Big East. We were always going to run the Big East, and we were always going to be chasing these BCF type games, And I think we as West Virginia fans, after the way things have been, take us back to the BCS era. Take us back to the BCS era, man, where we were chasing BCS games and just missing national championships. Screw this crap with freaking 4.5 wins, 5 wins. Nuts, man. Steve Kill says Tom Allen is a big pickup for Penn State after defensive coordinator went to Duke. Absolutely. I think Kolnicki from Kansas is the bigger pickup, in my opinion. Don Johnson to the offense will be able to score on anybody. I believe it will come down to how the defense comes together. At the least, our defense will be better than last year. Well, we hope. Sasquatch, what's up, my dude? What's up? What's up? McDowell County, awesome, man. Tyler said if we can pull out a win, it'll be the first time and we have beat Penn State since 1988. Granted, we hadn't played them till last year, since 1992. Yeah. Here he goes again. He's on another rampage. Sasquatch is gifted 10 Mountaineer Paul Talks Football memberships. My guy, if you got a membership, post down below. Let me know down below, guys. If you're watching this after the fact and it gave you a random membership, let me know. Because Sasquatch does this every month. I really appreciate it. He may even do it more than that. But I really appreciate that, bro. You are just one hell of a listener, dude. I can't thank you enough for it, brother. Really nice of you. All right, that's what's up, Tyler Cobb. Glad you got one. Appreciate that. Hey guys, this is gonna sound crazy, but I just had groceries delivered to my door about 10 minutes ago. If you guys want to wait here for like 10, 20 seconds, I just need to throw the ice cream in the freezer real quick. Otherwise, it's going to melt while I'm doing this. So you're going to see a blank screen for a second, but give me like 10, 15 seconds and I'll be right back. Well, I've spilled a 2-liter all over the floor. So I'm about to go clean it up. I'm pissed. So unfortunately, guys, I'm going to have to go. Sorry about all this, but Sasquatch, I can't thank you enough, man. Embarrassing. But this has been another edition of Mountaineer Paul Hawks Football. We'll hit you guys back up tomorrow. We'll get back on this train. Appreciate y'all. I'm out.